Hey, good day to you. Welcome to RFD, Illinois. I'm Rita Frazier.
I'm DeLoss Yankee. Hello there.
Hello. We have numbers. I don't know how big they are, but we have numbers.
Well, what I'm quite curious to see is what's going on to the south of us. Do they have anything? Kentucky, Tennessee, Delta states, Texas, have they been able to do very much? I saw a text from an old buddy in southern Texas, like way down there, who they got 2 inches of rain over the weekend, and it was more than they had all year. Wow. So it's just amazing how the extremes go from place to place.
Yesterday morning, throughout the night, with the thunderstorms and so on, I thought to myself, Mother Nature can be loud.
Yeah. So
that rain, I don't know, for Illinois totals, it was too much for most here. And then you talked to somebody, didn't you, that this was since March total.
Well, Doug Uphoff, our crop watcher.
Right.
7.7 since the 1st of March. That's a bit much. And then what's coming to the Dakotas and Minnesota and all that later this week just looks horrific.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Well, in any case, we do have reports from the field in both the first and second segment, and we'll also check in with Mr. Matt Kay for some updates from D.C.
Yeah, Kent Casson, not quite yet from the field, but, it's a good sign of spring when our pal Kent Casson sends his weekly report.
Hashtag the cutest kids ever.
They sure are.
All that plus markets and weather. Stay with us. This is RFD, Illinois.
With this week's edition of Farm Week, the early word, here's DeLoss Yankee.
A persistent wet weather pattern in March left Illinois soils saturated. Farmers may need to be patient as the Climate Prediction Center's forecast calls for wet conditions to prevail. Learn more in the latest edition of Farm Week. David Zaya is looking for east central Illinois hayfields, pastures, or other grassland sites planted in non-blooming species to include in his monarch study. Find out more about the Natural History Survey plant ecologist efforts in Farm Week.
No other Farm Weekly in Illinois has as many people on the ground in Illinois covering Illinois agriculture for you with the depth on key issues to help keep you profitable. And don't forget, you can get daily or even more frequent updates online anytime at farmweeknow.com.
Welcome back to RFD, Illinois. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Last week, statewide temperatures averaged 48.4 degrees, 1.1 degree more than average. 8 of the 9 reporting areas reported above average temperatures. Precipitation-wise, statewide average was 1/3 of an inch, about 1/3 less than average. All 9 of the reporting districts came in at less than 1/2 of an inch. Days suitable for field work in Illinois last week was all of 1.1. Topsoil moisture in the state is considered 54% surplus, 46% adequate. Subsoil is 46% surplus, 54% adequate. Only 1% of the winter wheat crop is considered headed. Condition of the crop is 55% good to excellent, which is actually a 4 percentage point improvement from the week before. 32% fair and 13% either poor or very poor. Pasture condition is rated 52% good to excellent, 32% fair, 16% poor to very poor. Need some more days like yesterday, some warm temperatures to get that grass growing. A lot of folks struggling to find hay or to keep hay supplies, and that first cutting of alfalfa will be awfully important, and Rita will get into that later in the program. This week's Farm Week includes the return of the crop watchers, and a lot of the crop watchers mention wet and either cool or cold in their reports. We talked to our first yesterday, Doug Uphoff in Shelby County, who's had plenty of precip of late.
We've had 7.7 inches in the last month and about 0.7 in the last week. Yeah, that's all right, though. It'll quit raining one of these days, and we'll want it to rain again. We didn't start last year planting until the 18th of April, so a lot can change in 2 weeks' time.
One of the differences, though, between this year and last year is that not much field work has been done since last harvest. That includes fighting winter annual weeds as well as putting on fertilizer for the fields.
Fertilizer's the big thing. There's not much anhydrous been put on anywhere. I think the last meeting I went to said we had 25% of our anhydrous applied that's normally applied in the fall, which that may be a good thing as wet as it's been.
Does it change at all what you think about starting with? You always start with corn, or have beans moved their way further up the schedule?
Well, that's been a discussion my son and I have. He's of the younger generation. He says we need to plant beans first. So he may be planting beans and I may be putting anhydrous on. We'll just have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Okay. Just hopefully the bridge don't wash out.
Doug Upoff in Shelby County, one of the many Farm Week crop watchers, and you can find their reports this week in Farm Week. By the way, soil temperatures have been they moved quite a ways this last week. At the 4-inch depth, almost all of the reporting areas were at least 50 degrees. You get into far southern Illinois, you're getting close to 60 degrees, and they should miss the rainfall that's coming our way Wednesday and Thursday. Northern two-thirds of the state might get some, but the southern parts may miss it. They could do for a miss at this point. We'll get first of our regular reports now from Kent Casson, who farms in McLean and Livingston counties.
It was a fairly cool and rainy week across our farms in central Illinois, with a few nice days sprinkled in there. We opened up the shed doors a little and got some of the preseason work done, but there are still more planter preparations for us in the days ahead. Our neighbors to the north, the Bowmans, farm near Pontiac in Livingston County. Rick Bowman is hopeful for better weather in the days ahead.
Well, we hope it warms up and stays dry for a while. Hopefully it'll be a good year, and if we can get things rolling by the middle of April to the latter half of April, things should be looking good.
And what type of crop rotation are we looking at this year on your farms?
It's about 50-50 at one field, corn on corn, but that's it.
Say weather stays wet, do you see any drastic changes with your rotation?
No, I think we're pretty much set.
Thanks to Rick and Eddie Bowman for opening up the shed for us to talk to them for a few minutes. Reporting for the RFD Radio Network from southeastern Livingston County, I'm Kent Casson.
A couple of nationwide numbers. 2% of the nation's corn crop has been planted. No surprise to analysts. Most of that came from Texas, where they're more than 50% done. North Carolina, 11% done. Oats planted at 27% is just a little bit behind the 5-year average. 60% of the winter wheat crop was rated either good to excellent. CFTC data showed large fund selling in corn after the end of March USDA reports, taking their net short position to a record high. Rita's up next on RFD, Illinois.
Clean water matters to all of us. For years, farmers have been calling for clean water and clear rules because we know it's possible to have both. Now is the time to make your voice heard. The proposed clean water rule announced by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Army Corps would end years of uncertainty over where federal jurisdiction begins and ends. Support the new rule. Text WATERS to 52886. That's WATERS to 52886 and contact your local county farm bureau for more information.
Attention corn farmers. Your corn checkoff dollars are working with the U.S. Meat Export Federation to grow red meat export volumes. Because when we're exporting beef, we're also exporting corn. The beef industry consumes 28% of all corn fed to livestock, plus additional corn in the form of DDGs, a co-product of ethanol production. Now that's what we call working an angle. Your checkoff is working corn from all angles. Because of the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, your profitability is our bottom line. A message from the Illinois Corn Checkoff.
We're back here on RFD, Illinois. I'm Rita Frazier. Farmers and congressional lawmakers are anxious for a trade breakthrough with China as both sides claim significant new progress in negotiations. RFD Washington correspondent Matt Kay reports.
China's official news agency announced over the weekend that talks with Washington achieved new progress last week in agriculture, technology transfer, intellectual property protection, and deal enforcement. But for farmers and their Washington representatives, a breakthrough can't come soon enough. House Ways and Means Democrat Ron Kind.
The longer this trade war with China lasts, the more market share we start losing in China. China pivots to other countries, and how difficult it's going to be to regain that market share, because back home in my district in Wisconsin, my family farmers are getting hammered. and manufacturers. We had record bankruptcies for family farms last year alone with well over 800. That trend is continuing. I'm not saying this trade war is the sole cause, but it certainly is piling on right now.
With some $360 billion in goods, about a third of that U.S., under increased tariffs. But U.S. Trade Ambassador Robert Lighthizer argues the president is trying to reverse decades of U.S. inaction on China's cheating, including on ag trade.
We had many hours of discussion about a whole variety of issues, of which I won't go through because most members would have at least some interest, from biotechnology to specific issues involving beef, poultry, aquatics, meats. I mean, it's just I could go through it all. A lot on rice.
The Chinese have slapped some U.S. ag products, including soybeans and pork, with big tariffs. Sources say China will commit to buy more soybeans by 2025 as part of a deal. President Trump says at least some U.S. tariffs on China's goods will stay in place to ensure Beijing keeps its end of any bargain that Trump says could be struck in a matter of weeks. For the RFD Radio Network, Matt Kay, Washington.
Thanks, Matt. Well, more from the field. We talked to Pat Ray with Pioneer. Pat covers an area from Bloomington over to Champaign along 74 and gives us an update and advice. Where are they with their time frame to get out there?
I think many of us are feeling just a little bit behind with the wet spring we've had so far. We just haven't done a lot of field work. It started last fall with kind of a wet fall and certainly not much fall and hyders put on. The numbers I'm hearing is about 15% of the fall and hyders went out last fall of what is normal.
So it's going to be fast and furious. And I guess there are many questions, but one of those questions is, how much nitrogen is needed on corn for 2019?
So that's a moving target. Our soils contribute a lot of nitrogen to the corn crop each year. We mineralize nitrogen out of the soil through the organic matter. Weather is a real big variable that we deal with, especially precipitation. It seems like the last decade we've kind of experienced a weather whiplash where we go from one extreme to the next. And so I hope this year isn't shaping up that way with starting off really wet and then turning off to be really dry through the rest of the summer. But sometimes that can be the case. And so the nitrogen rate is really difficult to determine when you have that variable weather component. And so I like to talk to farmers about getting the right rate, the right form, the right timing, and the right placement to get all 4 R's there in place. That is really difficult to do before the season starts. And so I ask farmers, how many hybrids do you plant each year? Do you just put one hybrid on all your acres? Because I think in nitrogen management, we have to take a similar approach because every nitrogen form that we use out there has different risks and rewards. And so by mixing it up and using some different nitrogen forms, whether that's anhydrous or UAN or urea or a combination of different nitrogen sources, I think is a really strong approach to dealing with this weather whiplash that we've experienced this last decade.
Pat Ray, field agronomist with Pioneer. From the Bloomington to Champaign area down to Effingham, we checked in with Scott Woltman yesterday. Scott is with La Crosse Seed, but we know fields can't green up fast enough. Scott tells us more about how things are going.
We work in a lot of different parts of the country, the Corn Belt to be a large one, and we work with retailers from north to south and east to west, and we've been getting a lot of phone calls that guys are potentially looking at maybe some of their winter cereal grains like winter wheat, maybe a cover crop that they put in, maybe as a cover crop rye, winter rye, maybe even triticale, or maybe they're going to look for spring oats or spring barley or spring trit seeding that they would be doing here in the near future. I think all of those acres are going to be potentially an option for guys to utilize a cereal grain and turn that into silage. And I think, we'll have to potentially manage those acres a little bit different from a fertility standpoint and different things. But definitely those are acres that would be an option to kind of stretch out our hay supply. And on your first point, I think, I'm reading something this last week where parts of Iowa and Missouri are looking at some of the shortest hay stocks that they've had in roughly 35 years. So to think that that's not going to have an impact on growers and livestock producers here in Illinois, I think we'd be mistaken.
So pastures can't green up fast enough, and we're certainly looking at maybe that first crop of alfalfa. A lot riding on that, and I think you mentioned to me that you'll be actually out and about doing some scouting on some alfalfa fields in your area.
Yeah, that's largely what I do this time of year, and I think a lot of guys were potentially, we've had a rough winter. It's lasted for a long time, and like you said, I think guys are looking at their fields and they're saying, boy, I'd like to get out there as soon as I can. As they get out there and look, they're probably going to see maybe some alfalfa crowns that are more damaged than maybe what they thought. I know we had some really cold weather across a good part of the state back in early February, and unlike our friends to the north, we didn't have a lot of winter cover or snow cover, not only in alfalfa, but also some of our small grains, some of our perennial seedings, even in areas like maybe some tall fescue, orchard grass, perennial ryegrass, some timothy. Potentially, when guys get out and look at some of their fields, they might start to believe that maybe in some areas, maybe it's a feedlot, areas that maybe got grazed a little bit more, potentially they could stand to have a little bit of a seeding enhancement.
Scott Woltman with La Crosse Seeds. We'll talk more with Scott on today's RFD Livestock Report, trying to get the most out of what we have out in the fields. Let's break now for markets and weather.
With the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Tuesday morning, I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all ending Monday slightly lower. May corn closing at $3.60, down 2.5. July corn down 2.5, $3.68.5. September corn $3.77.25, down 2.25. May beans closing at $8.98 3/4, down 1/4. July beans down 1/4, $9.11 3/4, and August beans down half a penny, $9.17 May wheat closing at $4.65 1/4, down 2.5. July wheat down a penny, $4.68 3/4. September wheat $4.77 1/4, unchanged. May bean meal $3.0920, up 1.20. May bean oil down 27 cents. 28.88 in current electronic overnight trading. May corn up 1/4, July corn up 1/4, September corn $3.77.5, also up 1/4. May beans in the overnight up 1/2, July beans up 1/4, August beans up 3/4, 9.18. May wheat in the overnight down 4, July wheat down 3, and September wheat down 2.5. $4.74 3/4 in the outside markets. June Brent crude oil $71.10, up 76 cents a barrel. The June gold contract $13.0590, up $4 this morning. In the livestock market from Monday, April lean hogs $78.60, down 42 cents. May lean hogs down 155. 89.45. April live cattle 125.80, down 1/4. June live cattle up 22 cents, 120.57. April feeder cattle 146.72, up 57 cents. May feeder cattle up 35 cents, 150.57. Illinois direct barrels and gilts trading firm on Monday at 46 to 56. That's the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Tuesday morning. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Dan Hicks from Freeze Notice Weather with the early morning weather update on the RFD Radio Network for this Tuesday morning. Drier weather returned to much of the Midwest yesterday as scattered showers and thunder showers ended over the southern through eastern part of the region. Temperatures were mild with highs in the 70s across much of Illinois. It is dry across the state early today. Early morning temperatures are mostly in the 40s and 50s. Dry weather will continue across Illinois today with mild weather. Highs today will be in the upper 60s and 70s statewide. A new weather system will be developing over the Central Plains during the next 24 to 48 hours. This will affect the weather across the Midwest right through the end of the week. This system will draw warm air back northward into the central and southern Midwest into Wednesday and Thursday, with highs in the 70s and 80s in the southern part of the region, while farther north, cooler Canadian air will keep temperatures a few degrees below normal in the far northern parts of the Midwest. Initial rain chances will increase later tonight through Wednesday night over the northern part of Illinois, while farther south, initially any showers will be fairly spotty. Right now it looks like lightest rainfall amounts from this weather system through the end of the week will be in some west central and southwest parts of Illinois, where some locations may pick up less than 1/4 inch of rain from this system through Friday. Farther to the north and east, greater rainfall is expected, more in the range of the 1/4 to 1 inch through the end of the week. Windy cooler conditions will push southeastward across the region Friday and Saturday as some Canadian air makes a return to the Midwest. Only a brief dry time is expected behind this system, as it does look like more rain will move back into the Midwest from the southwest during the second half of the weekend, and 6 to 10 day precipitation will likely average near to above normal across the Midwest, with some additional rain chances expected mid to late next week. I'm Dan Hicks from Freeze Notice Weather.
If you're in the mood for some sprucing up, you're in luck. From big to small or farm to front yard, your Illinois Farm Bureau member discount from John Deere is ready and waiting to help. It's easy to think green when it's the Rewards loyalty program with savings on equipment, special parts, and home and workshop products. Whether your tasks involve mowing, planting, or cleaning, you'll be set for whatever your work requires. All you need to do is sign up, have your membership number handy, and go to johndeere.com/Farm Bureau.
As you prepare for planting season, remember your neighbors. Whether you're an applicator, grower, or beekeeper, use FieldWatch to register your farm and monitor for sensitive sites around you. FieldWatch is a free, easy-to-use online mapping tool. Consulting FieldWatch is now a requirement for the over-the-top use dicamba products. Communicating with your neighbors will help you protect your farm and the environment. Don't wait. Go online to fieldwatch.com. Growing agriculture, we grow best together.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Dina Stroish connects rural routes for you. From the Farm Bill to crop insurance to GMO labeling, her expertise is apparent in the stories she reports. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I get to meet interesting people and share their stories, and I get paid to do it. I cover ag policy and really enjoy keeping the farming community updated on these important issues.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
I used to say I was an Illinois Farm Bureau member because it gives us farmers a voice in Washington. Then there was a bad regulation proposed in my community. That's when I learned what my county Farm Bureau does for me right here in my own backyard. From giving scholarships to local kids to tackling township or zoning concerns, Farm Bureau starts right here. And now, that's why I say I'm a member.
Call your county Farm Bureau and rediscover your grassroots power.
Hey, that is all the time we have for this edition of RFD Illinois. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
That's right. We salute a community.
Yes, sir.
Say hello to Irving.
Hello, Irving.
In Montgomery County. There's probably a few folks named Irving, but this Irving is population just shy of 500.
And something going on there this weekend?
Oh, well, the 9th Annual Trivia Night and Silent Auction at the Litchfield Community Center. So that's not in Irving, I guess. Maybe Irving benefits for, I don't know.
It's all a good place.
It's all good. Sponsored by Country. Your farm is your family's legacy, part of your hometown heritage. While you work sun up to sundown to get the job done, we're here protecting the things you love every step of the way. Country Financial at countrycrop.com.
For Jim Taylor, I'm Rita Frazier.
I'm DeLoss Yankee. Have a great day.